Hello and welcome to another Imperator Rome dev diary video for the Menander update. Now this one's written by Trintragula, so no need to have a look and see whether he's written the date incorrectly, because well, he's not Arheo, is he? He's not a massive troll. Before we get into the dev diary, it's good to see that the forums have re-added the show only dev responses button. So of course we're going to click that because, you know, I don't want to see responses from the plebs. I only want to see responses from the devs. That's like kind of the reason I read a dev diary. Anyway, hello and welcome to another dev diary for Imperator Rome. Today I'm here to talk about rebellions in the Hellenistic and Republican era, as well as some changes that we're making to the game to accommodate a more historical outcome. So rebellions in the era of Imperator Rome. Got an image of I think that's this patch. That's not the new setup. Right, that's not the update in this image because, well, for starters, we've seen that Cappadocia, Commagene, and Bambice are all getting a color change because of them being a vassal of Phrygia. Also, we know that Phrygia won't be called Phrygia in the next update. So yeah, this is definitely. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that this is all to do. This is just an old picture. So I'm not sure why exactly they used it, but yeah, whatever, I guess. So, the aftermath of a great deal of rebellions. In many ways, the era in which our game is set is as much associated with the crumbling of empires as it is the rise of Rome. Not long prior, the Achaemenid Empire was crushed by Alexander the Great, and only a few decades ago his empire then broke apart into pieces, with small regional rulers carving out their own states from within the empire. Likewise, Rome itself faced local rebellions in various parts of the empire, both while it was growing and in regions that had been under Roman rule for some time. Rebellions are something we consider separate from the grand civil wars, where the goal was not to carve out a new state, but for Roman politicians and generals to further their ambitions against the Republic itself. Such wars, in which every citizen was supposed to pick a side, we have the civil war mechanic in the game. While there is perhaps room for improvement here, it does, in our opinion, reasonably well portray things like the civil wars of Sulla or the dynastic wars in the Seleucid Empire. Rebellions in the game, on the other hand, we have been less happy with. Up until now, the rules for a rebellion have been that once you have a high enough number of people living in disloyal provinces, all such provinces revolt at the same time in one huge war. This does perhaps seem to capture the way Alexander's empire broke apart all at once after his death, but perhaps not for the right reasons. While monarchies are famously unstable on succession, with many rulers spending the first time in power ensuring the loyalty of the provinces they inherited, it's doubtful that all the unhappy people would revolt in a coordinated way throughout your empire. There are very few such grand revolts to find in this era, or even other historical eras. Yeah, no, I completely agree with all the above, especially many rulers spending their first time in power ensuring the loyalty of provinces they inherited. I mean, that's the case for centuries, millennia even after this. That's always the case. You have a new ruler, he has to, you know, make sure the nobles are happy, then make sure that he's not going to have a huge rebellion of all of his, you know, the nobility and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, there's examples of this in, like, the bloody 1300s. So, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, no, fixing rebellion sounds like a good idea. The gameplay implications were also odd. It meant that expansion in itself was a good way to lower the risk of revolt, since the more land you owned, the more provinces would need to go disloyal before the rebels would dare try their luck. Yeah, that was definitely an issue. You ended up with a relatively small window where revolts were a danger to you, and then you hit critical mass where there's enough people of your own culture to never have a revolt again. It was really quite a bad system, so yeah, change it. Good change. Oh, I mean, we've yet to see the change. I mean, we saw a little bit of it in a previous dev diary, but yeah, changing it up is a good idea. Rather than a number of small fires that can grow into big ones unless you put them out across a huge realm, rebellions are currently either non-existent or giant wars of independence for all the oppressed peoples in your entire empire. They're not the oppressed peoples. We don't oppress them. They're just ungrateful savages and barbarians that resist civilization, clearly. So, changes to rebellions in the Menander update. Risk of rebellion. This is, again, old, I believe. No, this one's new. This one's new. So, provinces beneath 0 loyalty will look to rebel against their owner, seeking to create a war of independence. Care should be taken to quench or satisfy detractors before it's too late. Disloyal states may choose to join them in wars of independence. Following states are losing loyalty and may be plotting for rebellion. Campania might rebel in 4 months, bringing 64 pops to conflict. Interesting stuff. So it seems like here, when you hit 0 loyalty, that's when there's maybe a timer for a rebellion. That seems to be the case. Instead of just immediate hit 0, boom, rebelling. Perhaps. I mean, it does look like there's a tiny little bit of loyalty in here. So maybe in 4 months, that tiny bit of loyalty will hit 0 and it will rebel then. Maybe that's actually that. Yeah, maybe it is. As soon as you hit 0, it rebels. So that would bring up the question of what happens when you take land and it starts at 0 loyalty, because that can happen. The way that it calculates new provinces gained for the amount of loyalty in the province is based on, it's something like what this province would be after like a year or something like that, and then it like makes that the loyalty amount. So you're never going to start at 100 unless there would be 100 because they're super happy, either your culture or whatever. Something to do with averages. I'm not sure the exact math on it, but sometimes you can end up in a situation where you're taking land and starting at 0 loyalty. It takes aggressive expansion into account, all this kind of stuff. Interestingly, though, 1 year has passed, less than a year, about 6 months has passed, we're already at 99 aggressive expansion. Obviously, he's added that in AE plus 100% purely to get this to rebel. But, interesting. Having individual provinces rebel when hitting 0 loyalty, that sort of makes sense. If they're not loyal, they're rebelling, and cool. With the changes coming to how you handle cultures in the Menander update, with each culture in your empire having its own happiness rating within your country, making all of its pops more or less happy with your rule, we're now able to offload more of the rebellion mechanics onto pops. But we don't want to do this by having entire cultures revolt together. This simply does not match the historical reality most of the time. It's also not very enjoyable to play. Instead, we want rebellions to be affected by things like cultural happiness, but ultimately depend on the happiness of your pops as they exist in your provinces. When people of a province has enough, they should rebel, with the possibility of said rebellion growing if more nearby provinces join the independence war. In the Menander update, rebellions have been reworked to this end. The National Rebellion progress bar has been removed completely, and instead the loyalty of each province, depending on the happiness of pops living there, is what determines when a rebellion breaks out. The rebels will not wait for a better time to strike. Once their patience is up, they will declare independence and take their chances. So yeah, that definitely seems like, we hit 0, instant rebellion. I guess you do have a lot of warning for that, especially considering this now seems to be this is almost at 0 loyalty warning. So yeah, I like it. And then we've got a herald from Campania. They are leading a war of independence against us. The bastards must be crushed beneath our feet, clearly. Just as before, the main contributing factor for province loyalty is unrest, and unrest still comes from unhappy pops you have in the territories within each of your provinces. Together with the cultural happiness changes described in last week's Dev Diary, this means that if you treat a culture wrong, you may well see the pops of that culture coming out in rebellion. It also means that the province is being particularly harshly taxed, will have a much shorter patience, and may well rebel from that alone. Now that is a little bit interesting. Does he mean bleed them dry here? Or are we getting individual province taxes? This is new. Is there anything here that I've missed? We increase taxes on this province or lower them. I don't see anything new here, unfortunately. Because that would be an interesting change. Increase the loyalty by stopping the taxes. No, I don't see anything new there. But if you do, leave them in the comment section below. Alright. But yeah, Provinces being particularly harshly taxed. I mean, that's got to be bleed them dry. May will rebel from that alone. Well, yeah, it does lower happiness. So I guess, but like you can just switch away from bleed them dry when it gets low, and then go back to it again if you need to, or if you want to. Personally, I hate bleed them dry. I think it's terrible. I'd never use it, but you know, whatever. When a province revolts, it will form a new country with a local culture and religion that was dominant in the state as its new state culture and state religion. This new country will immediately be thrown into an independence war with the goal of securing its future independence. Should more provinces in your empire rebel, they will join the ongoing war if they're of the same culture, or start new individual ones if they are not. While an independence war as a rule starts as a small revolt, it can grow into a bigger rebellion with more and more states throwing off the yoke and joining the ongoing war. This is especially likely if the reasons for the unhappiness that caused the revolt was tied to the low cultural happiness of a culture rather than something more local. This, so far, I'm liking everything that I'm hearing, but, and this might be a significant but, the way I'm looking at this, it does seem like the biggest that a rebelling country will end up being is a full province. I don't see, in this at least, any way for any larger country to rebel against you. Because if it rebels as soon as it hits 0 loyalty, it's relatively unlikely that you're going to get 2 provinces hitting 0 at the exact same time. Even if there's like a month between them, it wouldn't work. So are we going to get a situation where we'll have just 1 province's revolt at a time, and then even if they're the same culture, instead of joining that new country, which I would actually love, if like, oh, the rebellion is spreading and more of these cultures are joining them. Maybe as well, they could borrow from the Civil War mechanic where if they siege a territory that has majority their culture, it will join the rebellion. That would be kind of interesting. But I'm basically saying that you're only going to have states with 1 province rebelling against you. It just feels a little bit weak. I'm worried that rebellions are going to be too easy to handle. Now, what I hope is that the rebellion spreading, I would really like it if you have a rebellion, adjacent provinces would get a ticking negative loyalty hit. It's like, oh, there's a rebellion next to us. We are going to get that negative loyalty going on. So if another province hits negative, if it hits 0 from that, then of course they'll rebel as well. Just so that you're going to see more, rebellion spreading. So it's going to be provinces next to existing rebel provinces, making the entire rebellion just a little bit stronger. Because, I mean, I don't know, if it's just a single province at a time, that seems pretty weak. Especially if they, there's a well-placed fort and they can't link up with their other rebelling mates. Oh, I don't know. It's interesting, though. It's interesting. Another province joins the independence war. They are joining the war of independence against us. So yeah, this kind of thing would be really handy to have in other wars as well. Like, for instance, when you're at war with somebody and they then ally another party and then call that party in, you don't get any pop-up about it. So, oh, suddenly I'm at war with Macedon. How am I at war with Macedon? Oh, they allied my enemy. Great. That's happened more than once. So yeah, it'd be nice to expand this into other areas. Lastly, the Independence War itself has been updated. Instead of a Supremacy War, which is wank and should never be used anytime ever because it's terrible, where the way to get a ticking war score over time is to defeat as many possible of the opponent's troops, an Independence War now uses the new war goal specific to rebellions. The rebels are still the aggressors, but the war goal of the Independence War is now capturing and holding the rebel capital. Oh, now that is very interesting. And it's also written wrong here because the capital is one territory. If we look down here, attacker controls province of Campania. That's a province, not a capital. It's like it, and considering it's the entire province, the goal is now to just hold on to your entire country. So, I mean, basically, if you've only got one rebel, there is never going to be a ticking war score for you as, you know, the defender of this rebellion. If it was literally just the capital, that would be a lot more interesting, I think. It's like, oh, we need to hold this one territory at all cost. And you might even see, you know, rebels camping it, like just building troops and putting them in the capital. Like, I don't know, I'm thinking of the rebellion of the Judeans against Rome. They didn't really spread out and try and siege Roman territory. They stuck to their cities and defended their cities. It'd be nice if the AI got a little bit of a rework in that area so they would play very defensively. Maybe they should all be on, you know how you can put your own armies on AI controlled to defend territory? Maybe the rebellion should have that too. I don't know. Consequently, it is the capital of the originally rebel country that must be defended if more countries join a rebellion. Overall, what this means is that in order to put down a rebellion, the old owner must bring the fight to the rebels, and the rebels themselves will be able to succeed just by defending themselves, rather than by annihilating all forces of the old oppressors. I do like this, though. I do like that they've changed it to, you know, the rebellion needs to be defensive, instead of being a bloody supremacy war, which is terrible. Anyway, moving on. What about the problems of monarchs on succession? Since I used it in an example above, I'll add that monarchies' provinces now take a small one-time hit to loyalty whenever succession occurs. Now, I quite like this. I think it is very flavorful. Monarchies, I think, are the most powerful. I say most powerful, but powerful isn't really the right term for it. Because migratory tribes are the most powerful. They just get infinite troops, infinite manpower, and tribes get, you know, their huge retinues as well. But monarchies, of the civilized types, they are more powerful than republics, considering they can, you know, just declare war whenever they want and not take massive tyranny hits. They can get, you know, the empire government rank and 4 idea slots, that kind of thing. Adding in a tiny bit of a malice to being a monarchy that is incredibly flavorful and, you know, historically authentic, I think is pretty damn good. It all depends on how this small one-time hit, like how big is this small one-time hit. I'm thinking we're likely to see 10. Though I could also see there being inventions, maybe laws. Oh yeah, definitely laws. The succession law will certainly have something to do with this that will change that. So maybe you want to be on the best type of succession law where, I don't know what you consider the best. Maybe primogeniture. I also can't remember what primogeniture actually means, but I know it's a succession law type. Maybe if primogeniture is the best one, it'll also come with the biggest one-time hit. If there is a weaker succession type, I don't know, let me think of another one. Ultimogenitor. Again, I don't know what these are. When I play CK2 and I'm choosing, you know, succession types, it's, oh, eldest male will inherit. Oh, it's everyone will inherit. Oh, it's seniority, whoever's the oldest will inherit. I never remember what any of the, you know, Latin terms mean. So I'm not saying that primogeniture is the best and ultimogeniture is the worst. I can't remember what they mean, so whatever. But anyway, it'd be interesting if that affected how big the hit was. But I'm thinking a relatively balanced amount would probably be about 10. So if you've got somewhere that is very disloyal, you're gonna see rebellions. That could also make more than one province rebel at the same time. maybe those countries could merge into one big, multiple province-sized rebellion. That would be, I think, the best thing to do. That'd be cool. That'd be interesting. Anyway, moving on to unrest. Another problem with the old rebellion system is that unrest plays too many roles. Unrest mainly comes from unhappy pops living in a territory, and its main effect is to reduce the loyalty of the province that territory is in. This is something we like. But unrest also has a number of other effects, such as reducing manpower, taxes, etc. Often the very things that the low happiness of your pops have already caused. So yeah, low happiness pops provide less manpower and taxes. They also provide unrest, which lowers manpower and taxes. It's basically double dipping, so I guess they're getting rid of the double dipping. In the Menander update, we have streamlined unrest a bit. It will now almost only come from one source, unhappy pops. I think almost only is maybe support rebels or entice disloyalty, that these kind of things. Maybe something that will also include a bit of unrest. Oh, no. I think actually what it's probably talking about is character traits. There are certain character traits that increase unrest, corruption as well. Although maybe those are now going to affect pop happiness rather than the unrest in general. Perhaps, I don't know. Unrest will also no longer have any effect on the economy of a territory in itself at all. When you see unrest in a province, what you see is how rebellious it is. Currently, it does not have an effect on things like assimilation, migration, and conversion, however. This is subject to change still. So, unrest will no longer affect manpower and taxes, probably also won't affect research, which could be very interesting, and I think really boosts the Greeks a lot, because when you're attacking another Greek and integrating them, they're going to be unhappy because you've got aggressive expansion. They're not of your primary culture, but it's not going to reduce the amount of research you get from unrest. But then again, the pops are still going to be unhappy, and that will reduce the amount of research. I guess it's just reducing the amount of double dipping. So. Yeah, okay. It doesn't have an effect. Sorry, it does still have an effect on assimilation, migration, and conversion. Okay. Subject to change. Maybe we'll see it change. Who knows? So, unrest as it currently stands in the internal build. So, we've got unhappy pops giving a ton of unrest. It'd be nice to see what that's being caused by. Governor's local troops is +0. I like the UI here. It's like very easy to read. Unrest is caused by this. It is mitigated by this. End. That's it. I like it. Also, minimum 000. Is that perhaps what it's going to be? Oh no, minimum is the minimum amount of unrest you can get. Why would that ever go higher though? Why would the minimum unrest ever be more than 0? Not sure. Does that hint at something? I don't know. Unrest is affecting province loyalty. I like that you can now tell exactly how much province loyalty is being affected from your unrest. That seems cool. Promotion speed goes down a ton. Migration attraction goes down. Migration speed goes up. Conversion speed and assimilation speed goes down a ton. Yeah, no, I like it. It's good. It's good. It's a decent change. Existing things that affected unrest directly have all been converted either to something that affects happiness or other things that make sense. Lovely. So what about subject countries? We'll get back to subject countries in a future diary. Good, because there's more to talk about it than just 2 paragraphs. For now, I'll say that when a rebellion breaks out, a subject country of the right culture can join the independence war just like rebellious states can, given the right circumstances. The new independence war goal is also available for all subject countries against their overlord, with its focus on the aggressor surviving by defending themselves rather than defeating all armies of their former overlord. One thing I wish you'd added to this, just to alleviate a lot of people's, including my, concerns, let rebellious or disloyal vassal states ally one another, so we can break apart at the same time instead of everyone having to declare their own pissing war. That would be really handy. Please give us that option. So that was it for today. Hope you will enjoy these changes, which are now busy trying out and balancing. As usual, any numbers you see in text or in screenshots are to be considered work in progress. So now that we've got dev responses only on, order has finally been restored with the dating system. Praise Jupiter. This was actually a response to me. I always do dates the sane. You misspelled sane. This is the sane way. Arheo has his own methods. Yeah. Arheo only does it to bloody annoy me, the troll. I don't know if that's true. I'm just going to assume it is. Where's Antigonid Empire name change? So, yeah, people noticed it. Some features are worked on in parallel. Don't worry, it's going to be in there. Okay, so maybe that wasn't the old build or the current version of the game that's live to the public. Maybe it's just a branch, and then it'll all get merged at the end. And in this branch, there was no change to vassal colors or the name of Antigonids. Maybe. Wait, we only get 2 dev comments. Why would I need a second page? It looks like the dev comments got turned off. Why? Let's go back down to the bottom. Is that all the dev comments? It seems so. Interesting that I still have this. Forums are new, guys. Forums are new. They're not great yet. We'll get there. We'll get there. So yeah, that was the dev diary, and we can see all about the new changes coming to Rebellions. Yeah, it does look exactly like the current version of the game. I can't see any differences. Because Arakosi is already in the current version, right? That's not a Menander thing. That came with Archimedes. And we haven't been teased any new map changes for Menander yet, so... yeah, no, I can't see anything new here. Maybe you can, though. But anyway, that'll do for this video. I want to thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it interesting and enlightening. And if you have anything to add, something maybe I've missed, then please do leave those comments down in the comment section below. Like the video if you liked it. You know, if you want to keep up to date with all Imperator Rome news and updates, then subscribe. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.